everyone, Big Mike here, and we're at part 2 of how to be a good game master if you're a beginner. In this one we're just going to cover logistics of starting up your first game. Now, before you even get players, well, around the time you should start considering that you want to get your first group of players, there's two things you got to consider. One, who are your players going to be? And two, what are you going to play in? I'm going to cover the second one first just because it's a little bit easier. When you are starting out as a game master, I encourage you not to choose an RPG that forces you to only make one kind of adventure. There's a lot of different systems out there, and whereas something like Shadowrun or Pathfinder or Call of Cthulhu, they're all fun games. I don't recommend you start there because when you're first starting out, you're going to want to experiment with different ideas and different plots. And you're going to want to run different adventures because then it's a good way to start early to really diversify what you can do. Which is why I recommend systems like the Fate system's really good if you can get your hands on it. The Cortex system isn't too bad. I've heard of Monster World, and that's not too bad. Start looking up online, just open-ended systems that'll let you be creative about what you want to make. And make them really simple rule systems, because the simpler you get them, the simpler your players are going to get them. Also on top of that, a lot of open rule games are better for players, because when a player starts... Okay, this is my opinion, and I can be completely wrong. When players start, I don't believe they should be limited to a class. To me, a class in a lot of RPGs is something you can fail at being. Whereas if you pick a system where a player just says, well, I want to be good at this, I want to be good at that, I want to be good at that, they don't necessarily have to fit together, but they can excel in those categories, and it really teaches them how to be creative in that aspect. So try to find an RPG rule system that really encourages you to make diverse characters without too many limitations. Not limitations, I mean in scale, obviously. Don't go too godly before you're ready for that kind of thing. But scale in the breadth of which you can create. And try to encourage your players for that. Another thing I recommend when you're starting out, start doing one-shots. I was kind of getting to this point before. Do one-shots with just different groups of people and create with different settings and see what takes with where. This kind of leads into my second point about picking players and specifically how to get players. There's no golden rule for picking what a good player is. I've heard of player circles that are basically like a pack of lawyers who hand around paperwork to work out how they're going to work out together, and they have an immeasurably fun time. Conversely, the D20 Live crew is a pack of psychotic jackals that will pillage and destroy and speedrun Pathfinder adventure modules because that's just how we roll. And every group is different. What you have to find is a group that works well with you. So that's why I recommend doing one-shots. Try to get 2 or 3 different people, and, well, the safe number's 4, but 5's not too bad. And just try to rotate out people, see who fits well together, and just start running one-shot games, which is why I recommend an open rule, a system with an open environment, because then you can just change the setting, change the powers a little bit, change the meta of the game, and just be like, oh, today we're going to do a little bit of a cowboy adventure. Who's up for that? And see what party emerges. It's also a good way if you think someone's going to be a problem player, just test them out once, or if you don't know who's going to be a good player or things like that. If you're having a hard time finding players, there's plenty of online resources for that. There's a lot of meetup sort of services online. There's internet forums, and of course there's conventions. And if you've watched D20 Live, you've been to at least one convention where pen and paper games are played. And another thing I kind of want to stress in terms of logistics, and this is when you start to form a player party. When you finally get that party that works well together, they're going to start... You might notice that a type of group will start researching the game they're in. And they'll start learning on how to be better. Now, some game masters will condemn this process because to them it's like, oh, they're trying to metagame, or oh, they're trying to rules lawyer. That's not the case. What's happened is your players are now invested in winning. And that's a very good thing because it means they're invested in your story. As a game master, it's not about whether you win or lose. It's about whether or not your players had a good time. Okay? If you find a group of players that have fun with you, It's not about beating them. It's not about rubbing their noses in your victory or anything like that. It's not about them winning either. It's about having a memorable adventure. Okay? That was part 2 of our video series. If you got questions, save them for part 3, and we're going to work out how to, so you guys can ask us questions and we can answer them all in part 4. Alright? See you then.